It's the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. All right, so we went through a Yankee-Orioles series here in June. There's another right before the All-Star break. They'll play 3 games in Baltimore. They'll also play again in late September at Yankee Stadium. That will be I think the 24th through the 26th of September in a series that could, for all intents and purposes, decide the division. So what do we take from the Orioles bouncing back from a Game 1 loss and then winning a close game, getting to Holmes, and then beating on the guy who has been the Yankees' best pitcher this year? Here's the bottom line. Here in June, and remember, we are just right now a few days from being exactly at the midway point of the season. The All-Star game comes much, much later than the midway point. The Yankees right now have played 77 games, so we are a couple of games away from half. Now, at this juncture, the Yankees have better top players. The Yankees' best players are better than the Oriole players. They're more substantial. They are right now at a better place and a more impressive place in their career. Judge, Soto, 2 of the biggest stars in the sport. Cole, okay, once he is now back in the rotation and back as the horse in the rotation. Those are the best players on either team, the most substantial players on either team. But overall, right now, in June, the Orioles have a better team. They have a more athletic team. They are younger. And they have a better overall team than the Yankees do in June. It does not mean that they will have a better team in October. It does not mean they will have a better team in late September. It does mean that right now, halfway through the season, they have a better team than the Yankees. They have been dominant in their division. They've beaten the Yankees 5 out of 7 this year. Does that mean a whole lot? No. This is a division race that is going to go right to the wire. Now, we've told you, the wild card is going to come in very handy in the rest of baseball. Cleveland has an 8-game lead in their division. Seattle has a 7-game lead in their division. Philly has a 6-game lead over the Braves, who the Yankees are going to see this weekend at the stadium, and the Braves are playing better. Milwaukee has a 6-game lead over St. Louis, which is surging right now, coming on. And the Dodgers have a 10-game lead over San Diego. So the wild card is going to play a significant role and play the role that it's there for, which is to keep cities alive after Labor Day and not have runaway division races that shut down cities and turn everything over to the NFL once the second week in September comes. You could have a wild, wacky, crazy 8 or 9 team race for the wild card in the National League. Right now, the second wild card after Atlanta, which is established as a solid, easy wild card team. After that, you have St. Louis and San Diego holding down the top spots. St. Louis is 500, holding down the second spot. San Diego is a game under, holding down the third spot. But you have 9 teams, including the New York Mets. 9 teams within a game and a half of the wild card. If you have that in September or anything close to that, it will be a 3-ring circus to the finish. And it will be a lot of fun to watch. If you have all those cities thinking playoffs, even if they're 500 or under 500, the Giants, the Cubs, surprising Washington, Pittsburgh, Arizona, San Diego, St. Louis. You have all those cities alive thinking postseason. That's what it's there for. You don't have the same race in the American League. Baltimore, the Yankees are going to be the number one wild card, whoever doesn't win the division. You have three teams in the battle right now, Kansas City, Minnesota, and Boston. And then it's 5 games back to Tampa, which hasn't made its run yet. They're 3 games under 500. They've played very poorly for the Rays, but I do, and I'm sure a lot of people do, expect the Rays to make a run. They haven't made their run yet. But I think, and they've had a lot of trouble, obviously, with Baltimore, but they can make their run. And I think they probably will. But you can have a handful there. I expect Houston to be able to make a run. Houston's now only 5 games under 500, considering where they started the season. And you expect Houston and Tampa to be there down the stretch. We're back to the Yankees and the Orioles. So the Yankees, this actually came at an opportune time because the Yankees losing the back end of the series in Boston and losing the series, the back 2 games to Baltimore at home and losing the series, losing back-to-back series, getting beat up as they did yesterday, having Heel, who has been so good, get beat up as he did yesterday. They were on everything he threw. They hit a lot of loud shots off him yesterday. Now, it gives the Yankees a chance to really do some introspection here and decide what has to get better. Do they actually need a veteran player to play some corner infield, some third base, maybe some first base? Maybe they can't count on Rizzo. Maybe they can't count on LeMahieu. Maybe they can't count on him either. He's been dreadful. Will they go out and get a bat? Maybe. Wouldn't be hard to do. Maybe they give Rice a real chance. We'll see. I doubt they would shift somebody out of the outfield to create an open slot. I don't think they should fool with the outfield. They should leave everybody in the outfield alone. So they want to bring a bat in. Give LeMahieu a chance to come out of this. I understand how bad it's looked. I mean, he still has only had a handful of at-bats on the season. He's only been up 60 times. I understand he doesn't have an extra base hit. Okay, I understand how bad things look right now when you're slugging at 200. He does not look good at the plate. He looks old. Rizzo looked old. LeMahieu looks old. Does that make them change things? Maybe. I've talked about Holmes all season. I really have had the feeling all year that the Yankee pitching has shown better than it really is. And that's a dangerous thing to fall in love with. Now they've hit some reality here. The Red Sox scored runs on them. The Orioles blasted them yesterday. They have to make the bullpen better. Getting Cole back, obviously, is an enormous deal. The Yankees have pitching. They can always add another pitcher. You never have enough. But they need a back of the bullpen arm. I'm not saying they have to replace Holmes. What I'm saying is they have to give him some help. Now, they have live arms, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be big-time relievers when it counts. And this gives the Yankees a chance. Instead of the Yankees gliding through the Red Sox series and the Orioles series and then believing that, hey, we're going to run away and hide here, they're not going to run away and hide. When they played their best baseball of the season, the Orioles matched them stride for stride. When they've gone head-to-head, the Orioles have whacked them around. The series had a little tension to it because of what happened with the throwing inside and Judge getting hit and everything that went on. And when the Yankees went about their business and had a 4-2 win on Tuesday night, you felt pretty good about things. But the ninth inning, the home run off Holmes, was a harbinger of things to come. That was telling. They hit Holmes. That 2-run homer was more significant than you think, because it sent a message. And it really was a signal of what was going to happen. And what did happen? They got Holmes again on Wednesday. And then they got to a guy who had blanked them the first time he faced them in heel and beat him up in a way where he had not been hit all year. Nobody has done what they did to him. I mean, they knocked his lights out yesterday. And overall, putting up 17 runs and 19 hits and pounding the baseball the way they did. They sent a message to the Yankees, and one the Yankees should see and should actually react to. Hey, we're not as good as maybe we thought we were. This is a bit of a wake-up call, and it's a good thing for the Yankees in the long run. Because the worst thing they could do is think this thing was something they were going to run away with, or that they were on easy street. They're not. And winning a division is important in the way baseball is structured now in the playoffs. And right now, the Orioles, although they're still behind the Yankees because they've played fewer games, they are ahead in the loss column. And they have beat them 5 out of 7 times when they've played them, and they have dominated the division. And Boston is really playing well. They have found their niche. They know what they're about now. Remember, they are superbly managed. And they found who they are and the way they want to play. And they've won 5 in a row and 8 out of 10. And you know what? And when the Red Sox do this, they usually hang in. They usually just don't fall apart. They usually, when they usually surprise big. And they're playing very, very good baseball now. I don't expect them to get back into the race, but don't be surprised if you see them in the postseason. They're not going to win the division. They don't have to win the division. But they could be around in the postseason very easily. So this series in June, which there should be no overreaction to, but it's a cautionary message. It's a good time for the Yankees to take stock in who they are and what was going on in this first half. And yes, they did pitch well. And they got brilliant first halves out of Judge and Soto. Brilliant. I mean, MVP first halves out of both of them. I mean, you could make a case right now they're 1-2 for the MVP in the American League. Judge's year is, has turned out to be something very special. Soto's isn't bad. Judge's is amazing, but Soto's isn't bad. They're going to get a big lift with Colback, but their pitching, their starting pitching has been really, really good this year and consistent. They didn't have, there's been, as you know, very few times, almost none, where a Yankee pitcher has been knocked out early in a game. It has not happened. But this is a good time to take stock in exactly who they are and where up and down the lineup they can count on guys other than Judge and Soto. They know they have a very durable, good, athletic, young player in Volpe. I would like to see Verdugo be more consistent at the plate, but overall, he has fit in well. He has had big hits. Halfway through the season, if he winds up with 20 homers and 80 RBIs, you're not going to complain about that year. Right now, he's got 9 homers and 41 RBIs. You know he hits a lot of doubles. He's already got, 15, 16 doubles. He's played very well defensively. He played wonderfully in left. He made a great catch in center the other day to, keep the game close. Saved 3 runs on that play. He's played very good defense. He's hit some big home runs. He's fit in very well as a Yankee. You got to be very happy with him. Yes, Torres has had a bad start. I don't worry about Torres. I don't. I do worry about Rizzo. I do worry about LeMahieu. I don't worry about Torres at all. The Yankees aren't going to get an upgraded catcher. They aren't. Trevino's defense has been a problem. Teams are running at will on the Yankees, but a lot of that's on their pitching staff too. It's not just on him. But they have a real weakness there. The Red Sox accentuated it. The Orioles, when they needed to, ran on them too. Teams are going to run in big spots on the Yankees. There's no question about it. It's something they have to deal with. The fact that they have Volpe and they have Verdugo and they've gotten a very solid year out of Stanton. Hey, Stanton's got 18 home runs and 40. If he finishes with 35 homers and 95 RBIs, you can't complain about his season as the number 3 guy in the lineup as far as the third power hitter. I mean, nobody else has that. Nobody else has 3 guys who hit like Judge, Soto, and Stanton as far as home runs. So Stanton's giving you a very solid year. So there's enough there. Are you concerned about the corner infield positions right now? Yes. Are you concerned about defensive catcher? Yes. Are you concerned about the bullpen? Should be. Are you worried there's going to be a fall-off at the starting pitching? Hey, everyone has to deal with that. Nobody has enough. Nobody ever has enough starting pitching. With the amount of injuries we get, nobody has enough. You're getting Cole back. Now, I don't expect Heel to pitch as well as in the second half as he did in the first half because he pitched sensationally in the first half. We'll see how he responds to getting lit up, which he did yesterday. We'll see how that impacts him going forward. But they at least can come off this series right now and take a good hard look and see that there is things they have to improve. There are spots where they can get better. They're going to the postseason. They're in a fight to win their division. They're going to be in a fight to win their division. It's probably going to take 95 games to win their division. That's the bottom line. So just, if you're a Yankee fan, admit it right now. The Orioles are better. Right now, they're better in June. Doesn't mean they'll be better in September or October. But right now, they are. Is it close? Yes. But right now, they're a better team. You got to be fair. They've looked the Yankees in the eye. There was some bad blood after Tuesday night. And they came back to Yankee Stadium and won a close game on Wednesday. After blowing a 5-1 lead and blowing a lead twice, they came back and won the game. And then they knocked out the Yankees' best pitcher this year in a big-time power display on Thursday. They flexed their muscles, and they left town a bunch of campers. They haven't won anything yet. They haven't accomplished anything yet. They have to know that. But they know that in that long trek of a season, they have fired the first couple of salvos, and they have hit the mark. They have done what they've had to do against the Yankees. And that's important for this young team. That's still developing, which has had a lot of hits to its pitching staff this year. But you look at that lineup of theirs, and they're a good baseball team. They're a formidable baseball team. They need to be respected, and they need to be reckoned with. And this is going to be a heck of a race. One where the Yanks need to improve in a couple of areas if they're going to win it. As far as the Mets, hey, it's always how you respond off the big winning streak. It's always how you react those next couple of games. Mets are in Chicago this weekend. They're in Chicago this afternoon. They have the Yankees right around the corner at Citi Field. If they can play decent baseball this weekend, they go into that series, that two-game series at Citi Field on Tuesday night with a lot of energy, and there'll be a lot of excitement into that series. They have to prove that that wasn't a fluky thing, and then now they go into Chicago and get swept this weekend. If that doesn't happen, the Mets will bring some energy and some excitement into that series on Tuesday night. And we look forward to it. A couple of things real quick. Basketball. Lakers didn't get Hurley. They go with the guy that has obviously been mentioned 1,000 times in J.J. Redick. His hire has become commonplace. Guys who travel the route he's traveled, from player to broadcaster to the bench, it's happened enough now that it's not surprising. Having no coaching experience is not a big issue. We know that. We've seen it too many times already. It does not mean success or failure. His background will not be the reason he's successful or not successful. Right now, you don't know if he's going to be a good coach or not. None of us do. But it's not the resume. It's not the background that's going to impact that. We know that. We've seen enough guys travel the way he's traveled and traveled the path he's traveled that it's gotten to be enough of a commonplace occurrence. The other thing is the debate about expanding the NCAA tournament. Leave it alone. They don't need more teams. The way it works now, I don't particularly like the playing games. I never have. I'd like to see the tournament start on Thursday. But I've learned to live with them. But the way the tournament now, how big an event it is, and how it is centered on the number of days it is right now, and how it controls 3 weekends. The Wild's first weekend, the second weekend set the Final Four, and then the Final Four in the championship. 3 weekends, better part of 3 weeks, it controls the country. Yes, that sport is completely contained in that time. It's become a sport that lives for 3 weeks in March and early April. That's the way it is. That's not going to change. I would not expand the tournament. I'm against it. There's enough teams already in the NCAA tournament. You've gone deep enough And I know a lot of people who have always wanted to open the tournament up and say, hey, let's open the tournament to everybody. The tournament is open to everybody. Everybody plays a conference tournament. So that means if you're the last place team, if you get on a run, you will make it to the NCAA tournament. So the avenue to get into the NCAA tournament is open to every one of those Division I schools, unless they are a rare independent that had a terrible regular season. Other than that, they are not involved. Every other school is involved. It's still very rare when we get a team that's in the bottom of a conference win the conference tournament. It does happen, but it happens very rarely. But it is still open to them. When they start their conference tournament and they're 3-21, they're still in it if they can win the 4 or 5 games that would get them their conference championship. They're in the NCAA tournament. So they have an avenue, and it is an open tournament to everybody because it has those layers to it and those tentacles that reach down into those conference tournaments, which starts with every team active. So it is an open tournament just by that nature of that. We don't need to expand it. We don't need to add any more teams, and you don't need to make the tournament any more days than it already is. I don't think the playing games have added a lot to the tournament. I really don't. There was something, I really like something about the tournament starting on Thursday at 12. Didn't need those 2 playing games. If they cancel them tomorrow, I'd be happy. I wouldn't be unhappy. I don't see any real merit in them. But they're here and they're going to stay. But I would not expand the tournament. They're talking 72 or 76 teams. I would not expand the tournament. I think it is a mistake. I think it's a big mistake. I think it is big enough. I think they have plenty of teams. I think that you have enough teams. And if you have a situation where there's 1 or 2 teams that's unhappy, they get, hey, this year, the selection committee did a lousy job. Seton Hall and St. John's should have been in that tournament. They screwed up. They didn't evaluate the teams properly. Okay, they make mistakes. Now, neither one of those 2 teams would have won the tournament, but considering how strong UConn was, those teams deserved to play, and that league deserved more consideration considering how strong its bellwether was. And if you watch St. John's play that week, they deserved it. If you watch Seton Hall play the last 2 months, they deserved it. They made a mistake. It happens. I would say this, and I said this when I was chatting with Patino up in Saratoga. He was up there for the Belmont. And we were talking about it, and I said, Rick, I think that this year, those were the biggest mistakes I've ever seen the tournament selection committee make in selecting teams. That was really, first of all, it was egregious that Seton Hall wasn't in it. Less so for St. John's, but St. John's belonged. St. John's would have won a game. Seton Hall would have won a couple of games. Those teams belonged. They made a big mistake. They'll do better. But I would not expand the tournament. We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.